here we are in ninth grade literature, and they're writing a journal on what inspires them, and I'm going to be sharing some of those in just a minute. This is Journal 15, and 6 through 15 journals are due tomorrow, so we're writing the last one for a while. Keep writing. Give it about at least 4 more minutes, 5 minutes.
Seven.
about 10 minutes. Some classes actually went a little longer. So wrap it up, and if anybody wants to share what inspires you, I'd be happy to hear. I'm sure we all might. The other two classes have a lot to say about this. I think I mentioned some of the things they talked about. They talked about athletically, their coaches, their teachers, parents, opponents. They mentioned, their teammates. People didn't want to. They were inspired because they didn't want to let their teammates down. When I was in high school, I was able to play some football. I went to Page. We played Grimsley every year, and there were 10 or 12,000 people that would come to those games, and then I taught there, and there were, I went to a game every year, and there were again 10 or 12,000 people. It turned out that not as many people would come, but that's incredibly inspiring to play or go to arena where you got 12,000, and I remember how loud it was as a spectator. The other side, it was incredibly loud. You could hear, I don't know, halfway around Greensboro, but you got 5,000 people over there yelling for it all at once for something, and then it would turn around and Page would score and it would be loud. That's inspiring. So that was one thing. And several people mentioned music. I get inspired at church. That's a good place. You know what the word inspire means? It's to
inspire.
What?
Not inspire.
Inspire.
Well, I thought in means not.
In? Well, it means to breathe in. So when we say the scripture is inspired, that means the writers of it breathed in a sense, from God what to write. So when you're inspired, you're taking something in like breath that encourages you. Anybody want to share anything? You were not inspired to answer that question or to write it, maybe. But all right. Well, what I want to do is see them tomorrow. And if anybody wants to share any of the things tomorrow, yeah.
Can you check mine today or like anyone else?
Well, I just don't know that I'll have time, but on the way out, if you want to show me, just bring it back tomorrow. I just thought some of you may not have them all together now. So let me ask you to turn in your book to page 106, I believe it is. I think we're on number 110, is that right? I think we read through 109. The battle has started, and we would be up to number 37, and we answered number 38, which is, what is the fate of Panelon? Yes. Yes, what is the fate of Panelon?
It's gonna die.
It even describes how and where. It says he's going to die in aches from the French.
By Charlemagne.
What?
He's gonna be killed in aches by Charlemagne.
Yeah, it even suggests life and limb. We'll get to that part. You can wait for that. And so we already know this is called foreshadowing, so we know where they are. So Jude, I'm going to ask you to start. And so we'll go to number 38 would be the next question.
Well, which lesson?
110.
Oh, 110.
Yeah, just notice, well, we can go ahead and point it out. look at the beginning of 109, underline both the top two lines in number 39. Make sure you underline the top two lines. One thing Megan, we're doing is writing in the book. It's your book. You'll be able to keep it, take it with you. You don't have to give it back. And I'm encouraging everybody to write in it, because that's what I do. And that's the only way I can remember what's in it. So underline, fiercer and still more fierce the battle grows. Both French and Paynham's deal wondrous, heavy strokes. Now look at the first two lines of number 110. Fierce in the battle and wondrous grim the fight. Both Oliver and Roland boldly smite. What do we call that? Repotia. R-E-P-O-T-I-A. I will start. No, you're going to start. I don't want to take away. It was number 110, and we're going to be answering question number 39, I guess, in a minute.
Fierce is the battle and wondrous grim the fight. Both Oliver and Roland boldly smite. Thousands of strokes the stout archbishop strikes. The whole 12 peers are not a whit behind. And the French ranks lay on with all their might. Heaps by the 100,000s of Paynham's lie. None can escape unless he turns or flies. Will he or will he? There must he leave his life. If France we must lose the noblest overnight. They'll see no more their kindred and their sires. No, nor Charles descants the past with anxious eyes. Throughout all France, terrific tempests rise. Under his heart the stormy winds blow high. A measured rain and pale clouds in the sky, while thick and fast flashes the love and bright. And true it is there are earthquakes far and wide, far as from saints to Michael of the tide, from descend on to Vincent Port. You'll find there's not a house but the walls crack and ride. Right at noon, right at high noon, a darkness falls like night. Save for the lightning, there's not a gleam of light. None that beholds it, but is dismayed for fright. And many say this is the latter time. The world is ending, and the great doom is nigh. They speak not true, they cannot read the signs. Tis Roland's death calls forth his mighty cry.
All right, several things here. On the left-hand side of page 106, circle the phrase, will he or nil he. You see that?
What?
Circle the phrase, will he or nil he. It's 4 lines from the bottom on page 106. Everybody got that?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna tell you what it means. It means haphazard, or, randomly, confused in a way. And you can write that right in your book. Have you ever heard the expression willy-nilly?
Yes.
I bet you have. It's probably not something you've ever used, but maybe your grandparents use it. Something done willy-nilly, that means it's confused, it's haphazard. The word, and I guess the phrase in England where we got it, was will he or nil he. Secondly, look at question number 39. What does the narrator say happens to the landscape in what Jude just read? For what reason does this occur, or what might this be symbolic? Yeah, Will.
It's like a storm comes in.
Yeah.
Is it a occurrence because Roland is about to die?
That's a good point. It's maybe it foreshadows the death of Roland. You can write down Judges 5:20, the book of Judges. Write that in the margin. Judges 5:20. Yeah. Where what?
Where do we write that?
We always write it in the margin.
Which margin?
Well, we're talking about number 110. So anywhere you want to write it.
Judges 1:10.
No, Judges 5:20. You guys, y'all need to pay attention to me. So he says that it could be symbolic of the death of Roland, and I think he's right. But in Judges 5:20, it has this expression that God, I'm just paraphrasing, God fought, well, it's a story of the first judges, Barak, I can't remember what, Deborah. And in the Song of Deborah, I think it is, says that God fought from heaven, like the stars fought in the battle. So that means like he used nature almost as a part of the battle. And so often in literature, when really important people die, like Julius Caesar, do you remember what happened? Did you ever read Julius Caesar?
What we've learned about him.
Well, in Shakespeare's version of it, Julius Caesar's wife, whose name was, I think, Calpurnia, she wakes up and tells Julius Caesar, not going to work today, which is when he was going to be killed at work, because I had a dream. And she dreamed that all these kind of unnatural things were happening. What happens when Jesus dies on the cross at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? What happened in Jerusalem?
The sky turns like
The curtain ripped.
The sky turns dark, the curtain breaks, bodies come out of the grave. So that happened because we know Scripture wouldn't, it didn't say it was a symbol or it was a metaphor, so we know that happened. So what happens in literature often, the writer will describe some crazy thing going on in nature to, what's the word, to support, that's not the word I'm looking for, the event. So if a king dies, the weather goes haywire. That's what's happening. We go to Davis, number 111. Try to do it without laughing, fellas. It's kind of annoying.
The French have fought with valor and success by scores and thousands, like hay and corpses spread of 100,000, scarce two will fight again. Quoth the Archbishop, right, valiant gentlemen. The like of these hath no lord under heaven. Thus in written in the gates of French, our emperor's power was never rivaled yet. They searched the fields for their maimed and their dead, with grief and sorrow, the eyes of them, with love and pity for their kindred and friends, now falls upon them more steel with all strength.
All right, so you can write in the margin, anywhere here is fine. Write that in number 111, write that there seems to be a break in the action. So they've been fighting for several pages and I don't know how long, but it looks like, who would be winning right now? The French seem to be winning. They're killing more people than the Saracens. What's the problem with that? They can kill more Saracens, but what's the problem with that?
The French are almost all dead.
Well,
there's a lot more of them.
there's a lot, they can't kill them all, I mean, every one person that the French die, at least it's like 5 of the other guys. It's just not gonna work out that way eventually. Look at halfway down, it says, thus it is written in the jests, circle that word jest. Remember, what is this book a part of? It's the chanson de geste. So the word jest are French stories about French heroes. That's what it says, thus it is written in the jests of the French. That's the stories about these heroes. And then it says at the bottom, now falls upon them Marseille with all the strength. So what was the battle plan from the beginning? Like they didn't send off 400,000 in at once. How many did they send in? 100,000 at a time. So let's say 100,000 has gone in. Now there seems to be a break. They're looking, at the bodies and counting numbers and aiding the wounded. Well, what's going to come next? Yeah.
Wait, do you think that Marcel's like company was the last 100,000 or the second?
Yeah, we're gonna actually see that. He does have a rear, you don't call it rear guard, but you have reinforcements, a reserve. Every army in a battle holds back a reserve. They don't send in all their men, it's just the way you do it. Because you don't want all of them, you want to be able to deploy wherever the battle needs to be, fought. It may not be here, it may be over here. And so, Marcillion does have a reserve wave. Rachel, would you read the next one? It's 112.
The king Marshal comes riding up before with his army about him in great force. He has assembled 20 huge battle cords, such flash of helms with gems and gold adorned, such shields, such byrnies with burnished saffron wrought. 700 trumpets are sounding the assault. Through all the country the noise of them goes forth. Brother Cloak Roland, friend Oliver, sweet lord, it is our death cause Ganelon has sworn. The treason's plain, it can be hid no more. A right great vengeance the emperor will let fall, though we must bide a fearful pass of war. No man has ever beheld the like before. I shall lay on with Durandal my sword. You, comrade, wield the great Monteclair of yours, and lands how many have we those weapons borne? Battles how many victoriously fought, the end shall this valour beside the threatened hall.
So look at number 40, question 40. I don't think I've checked any of the questions. There's 70 questions, so we're over halfway. So I'll do that soon. I'll ask you to show me that your answers to the, but question 40 says, what evidence do you see that we've just read that the control of the battle may ultimately shift toward the Spanish? We just said it. We just basically said it. What's the evidence? Yeah, Will.
It says that Roland's about to die, and that Marcellus' force is coming, like, and there's like a bunch of people, and they're talking about how many dead of the French there were.
Yeah. Yeah, friendship follows ours, but it's really, they're more of the pain of the die, but the answer is right, you got that. Here they come again. And it just shows you that they're not gonna be able to hold them off forever. They're gonna keep coming. All right, so that's number 40, so we get to turn the page here, so 41. We got a ways to go, but we're still halfway through. Why don't we go to Mallory?
Marcel beholds his slaughtered shepherd. He fades his trumpets and horns sound instantly, and then sets forward with his great company. When first rides out a serpent with his wings, and all that host was men more vile indeed, with evil vice and crimes he died will be, and Mary's child, God's son, he's no belief, and black he is a melted pitch to see. Better he loves murder and treachery than all the gold that is in Galaxy. None ever saw him in mirth or cruelty, but bold he is and rash to a degree. And for that reason he loved by King Marcel. He bears a dragon to rally his men. The good archbishop observes him much displeased. He liked to hit him on sight and how he feels, and himself he says quietly, his Saracen looks right clear to me, 'twere best not far to go and kill the beast. I never loved cowards nor cowards deeds.
So I would write at this point, part 2. The battle is now in its second part. Conceivably, there could be 4 parts, they're not, but, if they keep sending in wave after wave, there are at least 4 waves of the enemy. And so they're back at it. So Ian, why don't you read a little bit of this?
The archbishop opens the battle up anew. He rides a charger back from Grosseil. So that was a king in Denmark whom he slew. A steed he is swiftly running and smooth, flat in the knee and hollow in the rib in the hoof, short in the thigh and ample in the croup, long in the flanks and the back well set up, white off his tail and yellow off his plume, small of his ears, and his head tawny hued. Here is a horse no courser put out here, him the archbishop
the archbishop is just that. He's a priest that fights with a sword. Megan, do you mind reading some of this from 115?
Now can the French count up the kingdom right? They see it throwing the planes from side to side. They urge on Roland and Oliver likewise, and the 12 peers to flee for all their lives. To whom straightway the prefect speaks his mind. Baron's mind with these shameful thoughts put. By God I charge you, hold fast and do not fly. Lest brave men sing ill songs in their despite, or to perish in the fight. Very soon we are all marked to die, and none of us here will see tomorrow's light. One thing there is, I promise you outright, to you stand open the gates of paradise. There, with the holy sweet innocence divide, henceforth so full. Then, when praise and delight, there's none among them that shall not join me.
Thank you. So they make a real connection here between, it's question number 41, between being brave in battle and going to heaven. I guess that's the answer to the question, but do you see that connection? He says, by God I charge you, hold fast, do not fly, lest brave men sing ill songs in your despite. Better were to perish in this fight. Soon, if we are marked to die, none of us here will see tomorrow's light. Anyway, there's just that suggestion that if you fight here and fight well, then you'll go to heaven, which is, that's not what gets you to heaven, but that's kind of his story. So we'll go to Reed.
A Saracen of Saragossa town was there, the lord of half that city round. Cumberin, namely, that traitor false and foul, which took the oath of Galen on the count, and then for friendship kissed him upon the mouth, and with his helm and carbuncle and down. Our fatherland he swore he disrenowned, and from the emperor would snatch away the crown. Now he comes riding on
Gargamouche.
Gargamouche his mount. Later was never swallowed nor falcon found. Slacks rein, spurs hard, its mettle to arouse. On Inglier the Gascon forward bounds. Buckler nor burn avails against him now. And to the meagre lance point and pen and plough, from breast to back the shaft burns through and out. A whole spear's length he hurls him dead on the ground. Fit for destruction is all this deer, he shouts. Paynim, strike hard, carve your way through the road. God, said the French, one of our best is down.
So make a note of this. This is a milestone, maybe a turning point. The first of the peers is dead. This guy, Inglier, he dies. Now look, it says Buckler nor Bernie. I want you to turn a minute. Let's see if I can find the page number. Turn to page 48. 48, 49. I found this by accident. You ever heard the word serendipity? Some of you have heard it. Somebody said it's the name of a shop. Well, you know what? It's a real word. You know what it means? It means when you're looking, it means a happy surprise, a happy discovery, or a surprising discovery, maybe is a better way. Have you ever been looking for something? Can you imagine looking for your car keys in the cushions of the sofa and you find a $20 bill? That's serendipity. It's when you find something good that was unexpected. Well, I found this page unexpectedly. I forgot it was here. Look on the right side. See what those guys are wearing? That's a hauberk. Hauberk. We'll see that a lot in the book. It's a body length covering, like a coat. It's a coat of mail that covers their entire body. I had in mind like a waist, a little longer than waist length, but that's not the case. Everybody should be on page 48, 49. All right. If that were made of leather instead of chainmail, which is stronger, leather or chainmail? All right, so it's a cheap, a Bernie is the leather version of that. And Bernies are the cheaper version of the hauberk. So when you see those in the future, when you see them in the future, you can see the difference. Look on the left-hand side. see what that guy in white is wearing? That's, I believe that's called a bliant, B-L-I-A-U-N-T, or super tunic. So it's kind of it's a body length, whatever, I don't wanna say a dress, cause these are men, but it's a body length shirt that goes from the neck to the ankles. And so whenever you see that word, and you will, that's what it means. Bliant, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. A halberd and a vernon. All right, so we're back, we'll just read a couple more of these. Where are we? We're at, you're at, I think we're on number 117.
Count Roland calls Oliver his friend. Fair sir, companion, see Inglear is dead. No better man had we for knightliness. The count replies, God give me fair revenge. In his feet's flanks the golden spurs he sets. He grasps hot the Clare, whose steel is all deep red. He feels the pain in a mighty stroking dread. Twists out the blade, down falls the Saracen. The adversary bears off his soul to hell. Then he goes on, slays Duke Alfred next. From Escarbaba he hews away the head, and 7 Arabs on horses then pull pell-mell. That law at least will never fight again. My friend is angry, the county Roland said. Fighter for fighter, he matches me right well. 6 for 6 strokes, King Caroline loves his best. Aloud he cries, strike on my violent man.
I'm just double checking something. So, all right. You see the word pell-mell, have you ever heard that? We just did willy-nilly. These are sort of extra words. I want you to circle pell-mell. It means done in confusion. It's a little bit like willy-nilly. You know, it's not like planned. It's somewhat, it's confused and without thought, forethought. So it's another English word that we've kind of matched. And what happens to the bad guys when they die? Where does their soul go? Hell. It says the devil comes and he takes them off to hell. How about one more? We'll go to Emily.
Elsewhere behold a Paynim Valdebron was a godfather to King Marsilian. He owns a navy 400 dromones strong, and to his service no seaman but is bound. He captured Salem by fraud in times bygone, and sacked the temple of good King Solomon, murdering there the patriarch by the font. He took the oath of County Ganelon, and sword and man-guns gave him as pledge thereon. He rides a horse that he calls Grim and Mon. Never a speed was peregrine more prompt. With a sharp spur he urges it headlong. The great Duke Samson straightway he falls upon. He splits the shield, he bursts the habergeon on, drives through his body spearhead and gantelon, flings him from saddle a full spear lengths along. Paynims he cries, will beat them yet, lay on. God save the French, there's a brave Baron gone.
So, thank you. Now you're starting to see the French now. I think we do this before we leave. Write the word, we're gonna skip 119. So write the word skip next to 119. 120, write the word skip next to 120, 121, 122, and 123. So we will, when we start back up, tomorrow, we'll be on page 114, number 124.
Why are we skipping?
Well, I mean, it's a long book, and each of those, you can read them if you want to, you're welcome to do that. Each of those kind of is repetitive, so I just thought we'd save us some time.